Kenyan students have been shamed to silence, and I'll explain why. The other day, I was attending an international webinar. It was hosting a lot of students from across the world, and of course, Kenyan students are part of that cohort. And I just noticed how well everyone else was doing. But when it came to the Kenyan students, generally, we were so quiet, myself included. And it was just very concerning. Like, why are we so afraid to say what's in our minds? And why is it even such a big deal for us to even air our opinions and just say what we're really feeling? There's no grading system. There was nothing to that effect in this webinar. And yet we were still the most quiet. Now, I may be a little biased in my observation because, to be honest, I was just looking out for like Kenyan names, on the list of people in the meeting. So maybe I was a little biased, but I know what I saw. So it got me thinking, like, why are we like this? And there was only one answer to my question, and that was the 844 system. It got me thinking how cutthroat the Kenyan 844 system is, and that's our education system for anyone who's not familiar, where you go for 8 years in primary school, 4 years in high school, and 4 years in higher education. There's a lot to unpack. So in this video, we're going to be talking about the hold back phenomenon, as I have decided to call it, and why it's even a phenomenon among Kenyan students, and basically everyone who's passed through the 844 system. Let me not just narrow it down to Kenyan students. And is there any hope for us? I mean, is this how we're going to be in the world? Just holding back, shying away in the corners, even though we're among the smartest, most brilliant people in the world. So without further ado, let's get into it. So to start us off, we're going to be talking about the hold back phenomenon. And this is basically just a situation where you know your stuff, okay? You know everything to every little question or every little scenario, everything. Like you even know how to, like, you're the smartest person, basically, is what I'm trying to say. But you would rather go swim across the Indian Ocean or something before you put yourself out there and speak out or give a suggestion or anything. And this is something I have seen a lot with myself to begin with, but I've seen it with so many other people around me, to a point where, for example, I'd be sitting somewhere close to someone, we're listening to someone give a speech, or they're like looking for interactions, and me and the person next to me know exactly the answer that's being looked for, but we would not be the people to raise our hands and speak out. Meanwhile, our counterparts who've gone through different education systems are the first ones to be like, yes, I absolutely believe that, and we're just like looking at them. And I think a big part of it has to do with the 844 system. Even in the workplace, I'm sure there's people who have brilliant ideas to contribute, but for the love of God, they would rather not do it because they don't want to be in the limelight, because that means they're subjected to, questions and suggestions, and what happens if this happens, and they would just rather not deal with that. It's because if you've been in the 844 system, okay, the 844 system, the way it's been structured is very cutthroat. It's very do or die. It's very sink or swim. It's very performance oriented, whereby your output becomes your value. Like, how well are you able to perform? Are you able to do this? Are you able to do that? The system pushes results so far down your throat that it becomes all you're about. And this reflects very, very significantly in class, where your teachers are very pushy towards you performing and becoming the best student, and you cramming all this information into your mind because it's what's going to help you to pass your exams and everything. So because of all that, we become this almost like functional machines, robots in class, where you're just there to like grasp all the information. You interact with teachers who are also under a lot of pressure, because teachers also have targets. It's just a whole cramped system of pressurized people from across all boards, and you as a student, you become such a shell of yourself because your personality and who you are, how you view yourself, is so tied to your performance. So let's begin with the teachers. I have gone through a whole lot of very cool teachers in my time as a student, but equally and unfortunately in a greater measure, I have gone through some very difficult teachers to work with who are very keen on beating down students' morals. Your self-worth, your confidence would go to the trash can when you were working with certain teachers, okay? Because their words were so pricking. And I'm sure a lot of students who've been through 844 can attest to this, where you attempt just to even answer a question in class and you get it wrong and you feel like your world has ended, because your teacher will be like, are you stupid? We learned this concept the other day and you're... And to make it worse, they might like slap you or beat you or however else they punish you. So I just knew from a very early age that if I dared to raise my hand to answer a question in class or to make a suggestion or a contribution, it better be right. And now I've carried that with me for a long time. And I know you have too, because you know exactly what I'm talking about, where you're just like, I know the answer, but I would rather keep it to myself because I don't want to go through all this humiliation or even the attention that's already on you. Even if you get the question right, you just rather not deal with that. And I know not everyone goes through this because there's a lot of brilliant students who are able to overcome. They don't really care if they get it right or wrong. They don't really care if the teacher punishes them. That's on the teachers or whatever. So there's a few, outliers who are able to beat the system. But for most of us, I know we have this thing and we carry it everywhere we go, even as adults right now. And it's really hard to push through it. Something else with 844 is that because it's so performance based, you have shaped your entire sense of self in how you perform. And because of this, there's this very unfortunate circumstances that go on in class where there's the elite students and then there's the others. Like, they're not so performing. And I really find it so unfortunate because then when you've already labeled your students a certain way, then they already assume that identity. They find it very hard to break out of that shell because this is the thing. When you are in your primary school and high school years, you still haven't mentally developed to the point where you can say, oh, I'm the most confident person. I don't care what people say about me. The truth is you're still growing. You're still a kid. A lot of things still don't make sense to you. So you don't expect a kid like that to now just overlook everything and, assume an air of confidence. The truth is the labels do matter in school. And because of the merit-based system where there's such a division of children based on their intellectual abilities, then of course there's always going to be a cohort of students who feel like they will never aspire to a certain level of success, intellectually. And that also silences them through the shame that comes with not being the best student. And that's a very unfortunate thing. And I really wish there would be a solution to that because I've seen it beat down so many students who had so much potential outside just the intellectual gauge of how well you do in class and how good you perform in maths and physics and science.
Bombastic side-eye. Criminal offensive side-eye.
Clearly, I'm reliving some childhood trauma, but we move on. Another thing about the education system in general, because I think this even transcends the 844 system, individuality is pretty much stripped for the entire duration that you have to spend in school. What do I mean? There's schools I know where girls have to shave their heads before going to be admitted. Ma'am, sir, what does my hair have to do with anything? I'm still able to listen in class, I'm still able to perform, I'm still able to do all these things. But lo and behold, school rules apply. So who are you? What are you saying to us? Like, what are you talking about? You're going to shave your head. Already having to do such a drastic thing on yourself has stripped a part of your identity that it really eats at you. And then there's this like conformity and you can't do this, you can't do that. Like you're basically programmed to follow a single way of life. And by the time you're done, if you're not those students who have this resilience to fight for your rights and go for what you like, then it's very easy to get lost. And I think a lot of students go through that. And by the time you're done with school, you're a completely different person, or even if you're not, you have internalized that system that's very single-filed to the point where when you finish your school years, you're out here in the real world, you still feel that sense of, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, I should be doing this, but it's like, why? What's that thing that's telling you should be doing things? Something else I would want to talk about that has been overlooked for so long is the bullying among students themselves. Because the truth is we coexist in an ecosystem in school, and there's the good guys and there's the bad guys. And the bad guys are the kids who bully other kids. I don't even think calling them bad guys is a good thing, because I feel like all bullies are really going through deeper issues than we would care to understand. And that's why they lash out at others. That doesn't justify their behavior. But I just wanted to correct myself and say they're not necessarily the bad guys. They just don't know any better. Student interactions also play a significant role in how we are shamed. What happens a lot in 844 system schools is students use humor as a trauma response. I believe there's always a target person or a target group of people who are always the butt of the joke, and it does something to someone. It really does something to someone. I have been the butt of the joke several times. I took it very lightly, but like somewhere down the line, I have had thoughts about myself, and I'm like, where did this come from? And then when I really think about it and try not to reach, but when I really think about it, I kind of like trace it back to that time when someone made fun of like my teeth, or someone made fun of how I walk, or someone made fun of how I look. You know, it really does play some role. So when you're in a setting, especially in a boarding school, where you constantly engage with people who beat you down and make fun of you and have the meanest things to say about you, but it's jokes, it's jokes. When it's like that, then it really eats up at you, and I don't even think you realize until it's later, and you're trying to just figure out who you are and why you are the way you are. And that's quite unfortunate, because bullying is not really treated with the heaviness that I think it should be treated with. When you report your friend for making fun of you in school, your teacher's just gonna be like, okay, so you can't take a joke, or haha, that was not funny, don't do it next time, go back to class. And what happens when you get back to class? The person who you were trying to report, of course, is already on your neck again, talking about like, what do you think, going to the teacher and everything. So it's a self-defeating cycle, I would call it. And I don't think it helps a lot that there's not much action that's taken to it, because we have seen cases of students who have done the worst things to each other, very serious offenses to each other, and it's not until it escalates to those significantly gruesome levels that now action is taken. So having talked about all this, is there any hope for us? We are the way we are. There's still that sense of holding back. Well, I think it really just boils down to personal initiative, honestly. I have talked countless times in this channel about how you can pick yourself up and change the way you think and just build your confidence, among many other things. And I think this is one of those things where you just need to decide that, you know what, I'll never overcome this if I don't take some steps to improve myself. So I don't know. I don't really have like tips for you, because I'm also still in that place. I try sometimes to just push myself out of the comfort zone and just do things, take chances, live in the moment. I try to tell myself all this nice stuff, but sometimes it's just like, I just don't feel like being that person today. So I think it really depends on you as a person. But one thing I know is the world belongs to those who take it. The world belongs to those who are courageous enough to go out there, not care about how they look, or to be they don't care about being embarrassed and getting things wrong. Like, the world belongs to those people who take chances on themselves and take chances on the situations that they've been given, and take chances on even create opportunities for themselves. That's what I believe. So having that sense of, you have to do things that you don't necessarily find comfortable all the time, it just kind of gives me hope sometimes. So I think there is hope, but it's really personal based, like you have to really push yourself and tell yourself what you need to tell yourself so that you can get to the next level. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, please leave a like, comment, share, and don't forget to subscribe if you're new here, and I will see you on the next one. Goodbye. Mwah.